to business. Ireland, Ireland, Ireland.
You mean there's no music? Is this all talk?
It's all talk.
Come on.
This is a tax station.
Cindy.
This is a tax station.
No diddly idle diddle
You
music.
have the gift of gab.
I don't.
I think a lot of Irish do. I think it's kind of in your DNA, isn't it?
That's about all we have. We use it to get on.
That and music.
Right.
That
What
and
about
music.
our good looks?
The good looks for sure. The good looks. Okay, so you got music, you got the good looks, and you got the gift of gab. But you also have a beautiful, beautiful country. And it's important to know a little bit about Ireland before you go, because it's just like Maui. It has so many different parts. I mean, just like if you were coming and staying in Kihei, it'd be totally different if you were on the North Shore, etc. Just the same way in Ireland, you have, the Dublin side, which is, you've got to go see, right? And then you have Northern Ireland. Then you have the totally different wild shores of which I fell in love with. Mm-hmm. We flew in actually. I think, yeah, we did.
To Shannon,
we flew
was it?
into Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when I go back, I think I may not even go to Dublin. I may just spend all my time.
Yeah.
Over there. But I want to first talk to you a little bit. First of all, tell me where you were born.
Oh, I was born in County Tipperary. It's Clonmel is the town. It's a landlocked county. There's 32 counties in Ireland.
Uh-huh.
So we're 1 hour from the ocean. Landlocked, but there's not that many counties that are landlocked.
Is that where on the island?
Southeast.
Okay.
Southeast of
Near
Ireland.
Cork?
Right, border on Cork, Waterford and Kilkenny.
And Cork, of course, is famous because that's where a lot of people left Ireland.
Probably from Cove. They took the ships out there for sure. That
For
was
many
the
years.
Yeah, that was where even the cruise ships still stop in Cove, which is nice now. But that's
Yeah.
where the harbour would be for people when they went to America. That's where they got on.
And what's really nice is the fact that tourism has become big in Ireland over the last few years for a few reasons. People feel it's safe, and that's an issue.
And we
for
love
some people.
Americans.
Yes, you do, and you speak the language we can understand.
And we don't mind making iced tea if we have to.
How'd you know?
And we don't go turn around and swear in the kitchen like the French do. Those damn Americans.
I like it because it is so beautiful, though. Because I happen to love nature, and I also love horses, and there's some great horses there as well. But it is even more so when you go there. I'd heard about it for a long time, and I kind of am one of those people that feel like it's in my DNA and in my genes and stuff. But I hadn't gone in, and you see all these movies. There's been a lot of good movies that have been made there. Some of the movies are very famous, right? But it's nicer. It's more beautiful, and it's friendlier. And it's not one of those things that's been oversold that way. In fact, I think it's even better than what you've been hearing about. And so the hardest part, I think, is figuring out where to go and where you want to go. And like you brought up before we got on there, is you need more time. I didn't give myself enough time. I think I had 8 days or something. And I wished I'd had twice as long.
Sure.
I really
But
did.
there's lots of ways to go about it. That's the first thing. Did you drive yourself or did you take a tour?
We drove ourselves.
No.
John drove.
Yeah. So how was that?
Let's never
discuss that.
before gone on the left side of the road.
Right.
And a lot of people do the tours because they are nervous about driving.
Well, that's
on the
where I
left
was
side of
going
the
with it.
road. Yeah.
I still get nervous. Car rental is not cheap in Ireland.
It's the most expensive, and it's hard to get insurance.
But if there's people listening out there and you are interested in doing a trip to Ireland, we can run through some what
please.
to do's and not to do's.
Please.
And this is coming from myself, who goes twice a year and still get caught out. So if you're going to rent a car, you're better off going on a car rental site in Ireland and making the reservation through the website of that car company in Ireland. And there's loads of them. But if you go on through all these companies or packages, they say buy insurance. That insurance doesn't work in Ireland. If you have a credit card that covers insurance, it doesn't matter. You need to get insurance. I have children, so I always get full comprehensive. So I was in Ireland last week, and it was very expensive. But
it's very
it's peak
expensive.
season.
Yeah.
So, and then if you want to get an automatic, which is what I've been driving for the last 20 years because I live in America, it's really expensive and hard to get. So half of me says sometimes it's nice to go on a tour. It's nice to go on something that is driven by somebody else if it's your first time in Ireland.
Yeah.
I'm not putting people off. Public transport is great if you want to go out to the West Coast and so forth. You don't want to get stuck in the tour with a predetermined stop every time. I don't know if I'd recommend driving.
Well, then there's the option which I looked at while I was planning, which was, okay, Well, you can take a train. You can take a train, but it's not short. I mean, going across the island, there's a way to get to Dublin and take a train across, but it's an all-day thing.
It is for sure, and there's only maybe 10 direct routes to major destinations, and probably 2 to 3 or 4 hour trip on a train. Public buses are a little bit dodgy, but even if some of the bus tours are really cool, but you don't have to take them every day. You can jump on a bus tour and go see certain things and then come back to base as well. That would be an idea.
And the other one that I see some people doing, and I think is a very viable one, is you can hire a driver, and you get to a place,
right,
and you can hire a driver. Now, that could be rather expensive if you're in Shannon, flying into Shannon, then you're trying to get over to Dublin, because that's a long drive.
But if there's 2 couples or something, if you're going like that, I mean, it's affordable. I mean, I think it was €60 a day for the rental car, and it wasn't a nice car. It was a basic one. My wife had a pain in her neck from me driving. Yeah. So it wasn't cheap. So, I mean, if you look at the pros and cons and you want to be comfortable and you want to have a drink and you want to stop off in the little pubs or wherever along the way, it might be the way to go.
I agree, and I had considered that because, number one, they say we already know it's kind of hard driving on the left side of the road, but when I did this more than once, Mike. I bought the one that gives you the directions by the
I thought you said you were going to buy a rosary beads.
No, I did that too. But it's one of the ones where you pay extra to get your Google wherever you're going to get.
Sure.
Not always good and broke out. So I landed up using my phone.
Yep.
Using Google Maps. You know how expensive that is. Well, and many times you land up on these small, I'm talking small, they're basically
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Horse lanes with huge hedges. Yeah. Now, the hedges aren't like hedges that are soft. These are hedges that are really, you don't want to hit them with your mirror in your car or anything, because they cut right into your paint job.
For sure.
And you've seen many times, this is how they make money.
But for people listening, I'm lucky. I call Ireland a lot, and I have a couple of phones through the business, so they've given me free to Ireland. The only thing I had to pay for was phone calls, which I didn't make, but my internet was free as well.
Wow.
Because of my phone. But anyway, because of business.
What kind of phone is that?
It's an iPhone, but I'm with Sprint. But I have business phones related to it.
Really?
So because of past trips and the cost of it, I made a big scene, and now so Ireland's no big deal for me.
Oh, that's great.
So I was doing Google Maps.
Yes.
And
Google Maps are better.
Yeah, they are.
They're better.
But I wanted to go to my grandmother's house, and I knew how to get the normal roads, but I wanted to go to Scenic Way.
Yes.
So I typed it in where my grandmother lived and my aunt and so forth. And it's beautiful. There's sheep on the road. There's no signs. It's real narrow. And then we turn left where it says, and they says, park car and please walk from here. And it was in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my
God.
God.
It was only 2 miles from where my aunt's house is. I hadn't been that way in forever. And I said, should we turn around here? What do we do? And the kids were like, oh, look at the sheep and look at all this. And so I turned around, made a right turn, and then we were there in 2 miles. But
So you did end up using Google Maps as
but
well.
you can, with a rental car, you can get the sat nav, they call it,
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it,
I only used it half the time.
Yeah. Sometimes it will bring you off the beaten path. But
yes, but also sometimes it cuts out.
True, it does, But I know my way around Ireland normally, so sometimes the beaten path's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's true.
Excuse me.
But I have to say also, you're driving along the coastline. There's on the west side, on the west coast, there's some steep cliffs. And you're driving on the left side of the road. So here you are driving along a cliff with your car right there looking down very steep cliffs.
Right.
And people who know, and sometimes it's not a wide road.
Some of the roads are like the West Maui Mountains, Kahakaloa side, for sure. I did that with the Ring of Kerry just to show my wife, who's born and raised here, how it is, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And
the Ring of Kerry, I have to say, a lot of people are now saying don't even bother because there's so many buses and there's so much traffic. But I went and stayed at 2 places there. I stayed in Killarney at the old Lake Killarney Hotel that's from the 1800s, right on the lake, and it was lovely.
Yep.
And then one just down the road that was kind of in the town more, that was an old one, but did only part of the road, didn't do the whole ring.
There's a big deal right now. While I was home, the buses, they're going to pass a new law that they can only go one way.
Oh, really?
With the tours.
Oh, interesting.
Because they're going both ways and meeting in the middle, and then they've got to back up for like a fair bit with cars behind you.
Right.
And
if you're in a small little car driving yourself.
Victim of their own success because it's a beautiful drive. So they're looking at bringing a new rule like this year to say you can go one way with the buses.
I think that's very smart.
the road, I'm not exaggerating, it's a little bit wider than going West Maui Mountain, but you can imagine 2 buses going that way.
Yeah.
It's a little wider, but still, it's tight enough in places.
Very tight, and if you have to back up and you don't know how to back up, it's a long line.
And plus, you've got the driving on the other side of the road. And, if it's a stick shift, your clutch and your brake.
Yep.
It's just, you got to get used to it.
So did you stay down there in Killarney?
We stayed in Killarney. We did Airbnb in Killarney, and it was a 3-bedroom apartment in the heart of this city.
Just found it online?
Found it online, and was fantastic.
Was it?
But we did the Ring of Kerry. We did the lakes, beautiful lakes there. We went out in a boat to a little island with a little church, and there's a jaunting cart. They have the horsing carts. We did that with the kids.
Up in the hills at that old place where that was that a lady that was
the
a bar?
Gap of Dunlow.
Yes, the Gap of Dunlow.
Gap.
I love that gap.
Yeah, we did
and
that.
they have the little horse carts that go up to the
jaunting carts.
The jaunting carts are fantastic.
It's pretty cool. And there was horse racing that week, so I went horse racing with my dad. And my wife went to, it was like a Celtic dance, it was called. It was like a version of river dance. And she said it was sold out.
Wow.
In the town. So Killarney, for people first time going, come see me, get some advice, go to Kathy for sure, have her do a package for you. But then decide whether you want to bother driving or whether you want to break up the trip.
Yeah.
And then Dublin is definitely a must-see.
You have
for the
to
first
go to
time.
Dublin.
You do.
And I was only there 2 nights, and it wasn't enough. 2 nights isn't enough.
It's steeped in history. You got Trinity College. You got the Book of Kells, Kilmainham Jail. You got the Guinness Factory, which there's these things that are must-see. And then, but then when you wander off to the real part of Ireland, it's and you experienced the Wild Atlantic Way? Some of that. It's on the west coast. So from the bottom...
Not too much.
Yeah.
You know what I did do that I love, because I love horses? They have the National Stud Farm.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. You can see the horses, then they're the top horses that go for millions of dollars, and there's a breeding farm there. But on top of that, they have gardens there and everything, and you can have tours. And
beautiful.
It was lovely.
Yeah.
And then I also was very interested in the Saint Bridget, and I stopped by her. There's a church that St. Bridget founded. You can actually go to the abbess. She's a very famous in Ireland. Bridget was a saint that which is way ahead of her time.
St. Bridget's Cross.
Yeah. No, she's amazing, and she was way ahead of her time and started some of the nunneries there. At a time when there were the Druids mixing with the Catholic and the whole thing.
Right.
That's where St. Patrick comes in, etc. But she was doing it from a woman, and I'd read a couple of her books about her, and she was amazing.
Yeah. If you went back, would you drive again?
Yes and no.
Okay.
What I'd like to do when I am going to go back is, you were so right, spend more time.
Yep.
Focus on an area or two that I like, not try to do so much.
Sure.
Because it takes a lot to get around, and if I go to Dublin, definitely more time than 2 nights. It's not enough. Love the pubs there.
Sure.
And that's almost a day that you've got to have in just the
throwing
pubs
the Guinness Factory.
Yeah,
But then you go to Trinity College and, just looking at the Book of Kells.
I didn't have time to get to Trinity College.
Or walking down Grafton Street, which is pedestrian, and just to get a feel of the culture and the Irishness of people. But going back to why Ireland is popular for America, first of all, there's 38 million Irish Americans, but there's a genuine Irish people who do love to chat forever, but there's a general interest and a passion about America, and they love to talk to American people and find out about the culture, about what's going up, and of course the political things that are going on, but it's in their nature. So it's very exciting. It's equally as exciting for an Irish person to meet an American as an American might feel it is for an Irish person, which in no other country it's like that. It's open arms.
Yeah, it
is.
is.
If you stay in the bed and breakfasts, which are amazing, some are old farmhouses, some are downtown in villages, some are out off the beaten path. Like the host, the lady will have breakfast with you. She'll probably send you on your way and tell you where to go, or when you get there, make you a cup of tea.
They make nice big breakfasts, just like you get a nice, lovely big breakfast.
For
and
sure.
Like their lovely pastries, and of course, and then there's that whole part of like, wow, I love going over to the West Coast. Where's that famous area where the dolphin was so popular? That
Dingle.
Dingle.
Fungi.
What a wonderful... Fungi's the dolphin.
I lived there in 1986 when he first
there?
started emerging, and he had a wife at the time. and she got caught in a rudder of a boat. But
how
Funky's still
awful.
alive, and he still comes in. And there's
He's a
huge tours.
famous dolphin. Now, we don't have any famous dolphin. Isn't it funny we don't have a famous dolphin here on Maui?
Isn't it? But there's probably no collective area where well, there probably is down in McKenna, but
Yeah.
it's different. But
It is.
this dolphin has been through a lot, and he knows the people, and he comes.
And they
comes
name
out,
him, and you
Funky,
see statues of him in Dingle.
Yeah,
and I found Dingle very, very charming. It's like a little old English town in a way. And I went in and had lunch at a beautiful store where it's a little restaurant pub in the front and it's a bookstore in the back. And had looked at the books.
I
And
know
the-
it.
Yeah, you know, it was lovely.
I lived in
lady.
Dingle for 4 months.
And
I
it's
worked there.
Beautiful, beautiful stores, lovely little cafes and restaurants.
And you go further
friendly
out the
people.
coast, that's where Ryan's daughter, I don't know if you remember that
Right.
film, was
Absol-
filmed in the whole
Watched
lot.
it, yeah.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the beaches are just unbelievable. So you can imagine if the water was warm. I mean,
Yeah.
when the tide goes out,
Yeah.
you could walk for half a mile almost. You
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
just very interesting.
It's really I could have spent a couple days in Dingle. In fact, I mean, if someone's going, I recommend maybe taking some time and staying on the coast. It's very different on the coast. People sometimes do it down south of Dingle because part of the round ring of Kerry, there's a little coastal town there that is pretty popular.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go up to that famous island now because Star Wars
Of course.
was filmed on that little
We
island.
passed by it when we were doing the Ring of Kerry, and I couldn't believe there's a little jetty now, and there's boats going out and so forth. It's pretty amazing. And then
It's
there's
where
Connor's
the old
Pass.
hermits, would go to.
Skellig Michael.
Yeah, Skellig Michael. And the hermits would stay there now since the Star Wars episode was filmed there. And it's steep. You know, people are going out there all the time now, which I can't imagine because it's a very small little pathway and everything.
I know.
I didn't go because I'm going, I think it would be nice if I was discovering it, but now that it's been discovered, I don't know if I want to try to
Of course.
fight the tourists on it. But that town where you leave from just south of there is beautiful as well. I drove along through there.
Yep.
And each town, just like here in Maui, each town has its own unique flavor, right?
For sure. And when you flew there, did you fly direct or did you break it up on the mainland?
Went to, I think, to New York somewhere.
And did you stay over or did
Washington.
you keep going?
Kept going.
Kept going,
And flew in on one of the ones that was a partner to United is an Irish one. Is it Ryan? I forget which way.
Could be Ryanair or Aer Lingus.
Yeah, and it was actually pretty good.
Really?
And went right into there. But then again, that same issue, when we went and rented a car, and very expensive insurance, and it turns out the car didn't work, and we were out there. What's that name of that place? You go out to the cliffs where
Cliffs of Moher.
Moher. In the parking lot, the car wouldn't start.
No
again.
way.
And they had to come up
Yeah.
from the car rental place and bring us another car.
And what
I
did
mean,
they
so
say?
Well, they couldn't start it either. So so they had to take the car back and give us another car.
Yeah.
But I mean, the people are all very nice. It's
course.
not like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
it's not like
They
New
don't
York.
get overly excited about anything
no,
either.
It's just like, oh yeah, there's another car, and it's like, yeah, fine. So anyway, things happen like that, but it's it's all doable. But again, I wish I had more time. Cliffs of Moher, again, a lot of tourists, so you got to get out there early or go off season a little
I
bit.
tried to bring my wife and kids, and we got up early, and we drove. We were staying in Lahinch, which is 5 miles from the Cliffs of Moher.
Uh-huh.
And
Along
you
the
couldn't-
coast there?
Yeah, you couldn't see anything. You just couldn't, so we didn't go in because you had to pay. But they said it's a couple hours to walk around and see the whole thing.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. I mean, the cliffs are huge. I mean, I guess I'd compare them to Big Sur in Monterey,
Right.
down there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they do have, the gorgeous coastline and the waves crashing and the history and big ravens and birds that are unique to the area. And it's a lovely walk. You can walk along and the pictures are gorgeous
Sure.
from there, And right below that is, again, that another one of Bridget's Well is right there.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, right along just below the Cliffs of Moher. And you can stop there, and it's just along the side of the road.
Yeah.
And you park in there, and you can see the water coming down. And it's a nice little area where people have written little notes and miracles and things.
They
on
haven't
the
set
walls.
up a coffee shop or no?
No, they haven't.
That's
No,
funny.
it's
Yeah.
just on the side of the road.
We
that
kept
you can
going
park.
when it was cloudy and foggy, and we drove. We were going to go to Galway and shop for something, and then we turned off for Alwee Caves, which are caves that were found they were found in 1940 by a farmer. His dog went down a hole, like a burrow a rabbit burrow and got lost, and he crawled in and found the caves. This
Is it
farmer,
on the coastline, or is
it's just off the coastline on the edge.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't tell anybody till 1976.
Wow! So all
Somebody
the time
came
he
over
knew.
looking, and he was in a pub talking to these geologists or whatever, these from America, and he said, "Oh, I know where there's some caves." Like out of the blue,
Oh
in
my
1976,
gosh.
after he discovered them in 1940, when his
Wow.
dog fell in. I mean, it's a brilliant story. And
How do
there's
you
like,
get in there?
It's all commercialized now,
Oh, okay.
and it's amazing, and it's probably like a couple of miles of caves.
Really?
And they have a bird kind of sanctuary there, a falconry there.
Oh,
and they have,
I'd love that.
Vultures, falcons, hawks, and eagles.
You get to it from Galway?
It's between Galway and Ennis. It's on the Lahinch.
right.
It's on the coast there.
That's very close to
Yeah. And it's fantastic. So it was raining a little bit, so they did the bird display at 12 o'clock, and then we went into the caves for an hour and a half and came back at
that
2.
much.
Yeah, and they did falcon. The falcons are amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just unbelievable. And the vultures, I learned a lot about them. And they were swooping in over our heads. They're
Really?
like, "Don't worry, just don't move." And
Yeah.
like, okay, don't move, but you can feel them almost touching your hair.
Wow.
I don't love birds that much, but the kids loved it. And if you want, you can go feed the land on your hand, put a glove on. But it was very good, considering that the cliffs of Moher was, fogged over. But
Yeah, and it can
right
happen.
there.
A lot of people want to take the ship, but most of the time you can't get in down below from that.
Oh, right, yeah.
But if you keep going up from the cliffs of Moher and up the coast again, it's gorgeous, and spend a little time there to that ancient area where you can see those old burial grounds that go back 2,000 to 3,000, 4,000 BC, the rocks that go across, and they actually have fields of these ancient burial grounds that you can drive around through. It's very interesting vibe
Amazing,
there.
yeah. for
Very
sure.
interesting.
Yeah. And then, you can take a boat from anywhere along there and go to the Aran Islands, which
And
are...
I didn't. Did you go there?
I've been before. There's 4 of them. Are in all different sizes and what have you, and
They're northern.
Northern a bit, but I mean you can go from Lahinch, and a boat, I think it takes 30 minutes now. They have a new boat that goes there, and it's kind of a little bit the old Ireland, land of time forgot.
Are there people there living there?
People there, farming there, provisions are brought in on boats, rock walls, cattle, sheep, they fish a
Really?
lot, and they speak Irish fluently. That's
Oh,
their first
really?
language,
The
So
Gaelic. Yeah, like Gaelic?
Gaelic, Irish we call it, But there's one island has a little hotel, the rest doesn't. But very accommodating people. And
And you
if
do
you
it
have
in
time,
one day. You spend a day doing that?
you can stay over there, but you could get up early and go over and spend the whole day, and
Yeah.
it's just fantastic hiking and just seeing the culture, listening to people speaking a different language.
Do you go to
that-
just one island, or do you go island hopping between the islands? out
One
there?
island
One
normally. If you made time, you could island hop, but it would take probably a day or 2. But
Okay.
there's bikes there to be rented. You can go hiking, and it's just beautiful.
Wonderful.
It's kind of maybe a little bit like going to Molokai for the day. In a sense.
I'd love
Yeah,
that. I
yeah,
mean,
which is beautiful.
I would love to do that as
And I'm
well.
sure you could hear people speak Hawaiian over there. It's like the same thing. People
Yeah.
speaking Irish, and they're very proud of their islands, as they should be. And never taken over by the English, so it's pretty interesting.
Well, now you can actually go to refurbished castles. There's some of the castles that needed to make money, so they become, just like in England, they become places you can stay in, and they are pretty impressive. I did that one that was only 45 minutes from Shannon. And starts with the D. Oh,
Dromoland.
Dromoland.
Dromoland Castle.
Love Dromoland.
It's beautiful. I worked there when I was younger.
You worked
I
at
did, yeah.
Dromoland, what'd you do?
Everything I was told. It was brilliant. We were going to hotel school, which was in Shannon. So Dromoland is 20 minutes
Yeah,
from
it's really
Shannon.
close, yeah.
And it's beautiful, as you know.
Big.
Little lake, golf course. Beautiful old
gardens.
school castle.
Lovely gardens.
Beautiful gardens.
Yeah.
So we would go there as students, but we would get to work in the restaurants if we behaved. And back then, the beauty of it was a lot of American guests, and they would tip fantastically because that's what you do.
Right.
So we would be delighted to work in the restaurants and get the tips and take it back and spend it on alcohol in college.
Now
life,
they do big weddings there.
They do fantastic
Yeah,
weddings,
yeah.
and it's not cheap,
No.
but it's beautiful.
Some famous
the
people
experience,
have-
and
have
if you're going to
gotten married
Ireland, you have to splash out now and again and
Yeah.
go for a little bit of some luxury and, bed and breakfast one night, nice hotel or a castle.
I mean, we're talking, you have at least 100 acres. I mean, it's
without a
huge
doubt,
area
sure.
that they have. So you really feel like it's its own unique. And I think I was there 3 days, but I could have spent more time there. I loved it. And it's not that hard to go from there. We went from there to the Cliffs of Moher. And I think that was only 40 minutes or so until the car broke, and that took an extra hour.
Right.
But then, also going further up was really nice. Like I said, the ancient grounds where the burial sites are. But you can go beyond that to another castle that's very famous. Is it York? No, it's not Yorkshire. Another one further up.
Ashford.
You're so good. You can read my mind. Ashford's beautiful castle.
It is, yeah. And, have you ever heard the movie The Quiet Man?
Yes, that was
John
done right
Wayne
below
and
there.
Maureen O'Hara.
They have a statue to him.
If anybody's
now.
listening, you want to see something old school and pretty cool, The Quiet Man is still in my top 5 movies of all time.
I agree. And
Maureen O'Hara only passed away there, I think, 2 years ago. I met her twice.
Did you get to meet her?
Super lady.
You met her in Ireland?
I met her in Ireland, yeah. I waited on her in a little restaurant twice, yeah.
Was it that town or no?
It was in Bunratty. In Bunratty Castle, which is a beautiful
yeah.
place to go. And there's a theme park there, as you know. I don't know if you've been. But,
no, but I heard about it.
I lived near Bunratty for 4 years, went to hotel school there, but we never went. And I brought the kids when I was home. There's old thatched houses, old way of life in middle century, how they farmed, everything. It's just an amazing,
style,
yeah.
Right,
and you wouldn't know it unless you were visiting.
Yeah.
And I fell upon it a couple of years ago when I brought some friends from Texas home for a wedding, and he said, we want to stop and see Bunratty. I started laughing because all I knew was Dirty Nelly's, which is a famous pub there.
Yes.
And I went in and I was like, this is amazing.
Changed.
My backyard. It'd be like living here in Maui and never been to Haleakala, because and there is some people who don't go to Haleakala, as you know, or going to Hana or going to Hamoa Beach or whatever, and it's stuff like that that's pretty amazing. But
it was very amazing, and if you go further in, there's some really famous old churches and some that are retreats that you can even stay in. Mm-hmm. They allow you to stay in some down there, and I went further in. There's some lovely old walkways and tours and hikes that you can do that are just lovely. Of course, you have to go. The River Shannon is very famous, and it's revered by the Irish. I mean, the Shannon River is just beautiful and stretches a long, long ways,
Of course it does, yeah. It's the biggest river in Ireland.
Yeah, and there's some lovely towns along there.
But there's so much to do, and whether it's climate change or whatever, there was a little bit of a heat wave when I was home. It started raining the day I got there, but the temperatures were beautiful. And whether you want to bike, there's a load of greenways right now, which we did, and it was fantastic. With the River Shannon, there's if you want to take a barge, you can
take a barge,
little boats, and take your own boat, which is amazing. Horseback tours. I mean, there's a little bit of everything for everything.
Yeah.
The only thing is, if you want to go swimming, stick to Maui.
Yeah, it's too cold.
My daughter Lily went in up to her knees. I got pictures of it. I got my toes wet. And this is after 2 months of a heat wave, the Atlantic Ocean being warmed up, but it doesn't get that warm. But the beaches are beautiful. But
but this is you were there at one of the busiest times of the year.
I was, yeah.
That didn't discourage you? Because, I mean, obviously you had your daughter and now
my dad had some issues, a little bit of medical stuff, so I wanted to go home. It was kind of last minute, and normally it's very expensive.
Yeah.
If anybody's going to Ireland, you want budget travel, it's May or September is the time to go. Mm-hmm. June, July, and August are the busiest times. Yeah. School-wise, for people who live in Hawaii, kids don't get out of school till July. So you want a quiet time, June is the time to go.
Yeah.
It's still okay. And it's not crowded with families.
I was there in October, beginning of October.
So it's perfect.
It was.
But we went in July because it worked for us, and I got a deal. But I broke up my flights. Rather than doing a package, it was easier to fly round trip to San Francisco. Easier and a lot cheaper, cheaper by $700.
Wow.
And then from San Francisco to Ireland, round trip.
What airline?
We mixed them all up. It was American Airlines and it was United. But sometimes it's easier to do it that way. Yeah. But always leave enough time between flights. Because when you're booking the whole package from OGG to anywhere, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you're late or the planes are, they'll book you another one. But if you book it separate, it can be much cheaper, but then you might get cut out. We were coming back from Ireland and the plane was an hour and a half late. But luckily I'd made my flights where we were flying out from San Francisco the next morning.
Yeah.
So we got a low budget hotel, which we were doing anyway. So it all worked out. Rather than coming in at 7, it came in
flew
at
out from Dublin?
8:30. Flew out from Dublin.
Yeah.
But we went through Philadelphia because that's the way
Oh.
the package worked.
Oh, so Dublin, your favorite pub that you always have to go to when you go visit Dublin?
Well, there's a pub in Dublin called O'Donoghue's, and
Very famous pub.
Very famous pub. The
Yeah.
Dubliners started off there, the Chieftains, who are still alive. So it's very famous for Irish music. But these days it's very modern as well. They have inside, outside. The older crowd come early. The younger crowd come later. It's open till 2 a.m. But and it's actually got some beds up. It's got 7 bedrooms upstairs.
Oh.
Very reasonably priced.
Really?
Bed and breakfast.
So you can stay there.
So you could stay there too, which I've done in my younger
That'd be
days.
fun.
Sometimes you have to deal with the noise of the
Yes.
street. But it's in the heart of Dublin.
Uh-huh.
And Oliver is the owner. His brother works there, and it's a family type pub. Little commercialised, but
Yeah.
every evening, I think 6 o'clock onwards, there's Irish music sessions.
Well,
so
you one thing that I love, and I wish we could have more here, they do music all day long. I mean, you can walk down there at 2 in the afternoon and there's music even going on. So
For
it's
sure.
not like just going out at night and hearing music. There's music happening.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
And good music.
Good music.
Good
These
music.
guys are all good, you know. And it's kind of the pub atmosphere is, you know, a lot of Guinness, but people are drinking, you know.
At
And
all times of the day,
at
for
all
sure.
times of the day, definitely.
And nobody looks at each other like, are you doing something wrong? It's accepted in part of the culture.
Yeah, and everyone goes to Guinness. But besides that, your other favorite thing to do when you go to Dublin?
I do a lot of greyhound racing. I race greyhounds, so we
Oh,
go
I
to
didn't know
Shelburne. Yeah, I
that.
had 2 dogs run while I was home, so they run in Shelburne Park. So it's a great night out for the family, and they let
So
the kids.
you have dogs in Ireland.
I have greyhounds in Ireland. I raced them. We grew up doing that, breeding them.
These are the little whippets, like.
No, they're big
Oh, they're big
whippets.
ones. Oh,
they're
okay.
like 60 to 90 pounds
Oh,
weight.
they are
yeah.
big. Okay.
Yeah, and we've been very successful lately. Never successful all our lives, but 2 years ago we won the Irish Derby, which is be the equivalent of the Kentucky Derby for greyhounds.
Everyone bets over there too.
Everybody bets,
Everybody
including
bets.
my kids. Yeah. It's
How long do
they
the
put a new rule in this year that you have to be over 18.
How long do the whippets race for?
They start when they're about 16 months and they go to about.
No, but I mean on the actual course.
29 seconds.
That fast.
Yeah, 28
Just 29
seconds.
seconds.
28
it's a
seconds
really
is a record.
short
yeah.
course.
Well, 350 yards, 500 yards, or 550 yards.
Oh, okay.
And some long distance, which would be 49 seconds. But
Oh.
anyway, I like to do that. But for a regular person, definitely go to Trinity College.
Yeah.
It's steeped in tradition.
Yes.
The Book of Kells, which goes back thousands of years, is there, the manuscript. Kilmainham Jail is where, you know, the people who fought for Irish freedom were put to their death.
And the post office become a historic
Exactly.
where, yeah.
The GPO, General
you can
Post
still
Office.
see the bullet marks.
Yeah,
where-
so, you know, Grafton Street is there. I mean, restaurants have really improved.
it was just the 100th anniversary when we were
That's
there.
right.
That so there was a
That's
lot
right.
of talk
2016,
still, and,
yeah.
a lot of
And there's,
events.
you know, feelings run high, emotions run high too. And
Yeah.
it, you know, it's not the people, it's the situation. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, we can relate to Hawaiian people
Can
with
you,
our lands.
Do you still like going to Northern Ireland?
I have a lot of good friends in Northern Ireland, and, you know, everybody had this thing about Northern Ireland and the trouble and the war.
Yeah.
It's probably the most peaceful part of the world is Northern Ireland because of the atrocities and the upheaval and everything that people went through in Northern Ireland. And some of the coastline, you got Giant's Causeway, Port Stewart, Port Rush, some of the best coastline in Ireland, and some beautiful things to see. So, you know, Northern Ireland is really, and then you want to see the Titanic Museum, which I haven't got to yet. Apparently
haven't
it's
either, yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I've never watched Game of Thrones, but that's, I think, is that where they make it?
Well, they make it in lots of places.
But they do-
Dubrovnik, some of it there, and then there's some different places where they do.
But they do it in Belfast
Yeah.
too, right? Is that
I
correct?
think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
You know, I've never watched it.
I
but
haven't either.
we have
You're
something
the
good in
only
common.
one.
Yeah. I think we're the only ones here. But
I've heard it's beautiful, and again, castles and nice places
oh,
to stay up
yeah,
there.
it's
and,
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
But colder weather. A little colder?
Not really.
Not
no,
really,
no,
okay.
No,
I
it's
thought it was.
No, it's not that far. I
And-
mean,
and
from
you-
Dublin to Belfast, it's 2 hours.
And you can do that by bus.
You can do it by bus. There's a motorway, so it runs straight up, get into Northern Ireland. And
A day would be enough?
like
Yeah.
anything, you know.
Yeah.
My wife and her best friend were home for a wedding with us a couple of years ago, and they tried to do it in one day on a bus tour, and it was too much, they said. They got up at 6 and didn't get home at 8, and they were worn out, and they said a lot of it was spent on the bus. So, no, I'd say take your time and take 2 days, find a B&B or find whatever you want to do, you know. Airbnb is big in Ireland, too. Yeah. Do you ever use Airbnb?
Not lately. Not lately. I like to find hotels that are kind of like nice hotels. But, you know, and how do you suggest finding, because it's a hard thing to find the best. How do you research your Airbnbs and
you know, I go look at the reviews and see where they are. I know where I'm going. So, you know, it's like friends of mine are coming to Maui. So I emailed them and said, let me know before you book. I'll tell you where to go and what to do and where to stay. So it's the same thing. I know that. But, you know, some of my friends have hotels. You know, so I don't want to inconvenience them sometimes, so we get to stay with them. Airbnb is easy. Bread and breakfast, you Google them, look them up, and there's an Irish Tourist Board, and they have a list of accredited bed and breakfasts. And sometimes these are beautiful places to stay, you know, really, really nice. Yeah. And then, you know, the castles, that's something else, you know.
So do you do the drive from Dublin on down through Cork and around and back up through Killarney and then land up back on the other side? It's a very long drive, but do you ever do that? You have
I
to
wouldn't
have
do that
time.
in one day.
It's
ever.
A lot.
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, my base is Tipperary, my family. If I didn't stay in my parents' house, they'd probably disown me. So, you know, so we go there, we leave all our major luggage there.
Where's Tipperary?
Tipperary, it's right there on the Cork-Waterford-Kilkenny border.
There. Okay.
So Waterford Crystal and so forth. So we base ourselves there, and then we, you know, travel around.
Yeah.
But I wanted to spend time at home with family because that's important with the kids and their cousins. So we took 2 days and drove down to Killarney and came back. And then we went to Lahinch for 2 days, which is up by the Cliffs of Moher.
Has it changed much?
Of course it has. I mean, has Maui changed much?
Yes.
And I've been here since 96. I mean, you know, when does it stop changing? You know, I was getting a coffee on my way in at Starbucks, and people wouldn't talk. They just have these apps on their phone that they were giving to the thing, you know, to the, you know, so everything is evolving, but I'm thinking it'll come full circle sometimes that, you know, you go to Ireland, you stop to talk to people or, you know. And
would you retire there? Would you go back home and kind of just decide to live there?
My wife's listening to this program. You just put me on the spot. As my kids get older, it would be beautiful to go home for summers in Ireland, which would be like the coldest winter in Maui. You know, like Mark Twain said, the coldest, the worst winter he spent was a summer in San Francisco. So Ireland, you know, I would like to go there for the summer months when it's beautiful. When it rains in Ireland, people become miserable.
Okay,
you know.
so say you were, and your wife is listening. Let's give her a shout out. What's her name?
Tiara.
Tiara, what a beautiful name. So you were going to go there for, you know, the summer months. Where would you go and stay? Or would you you wouldn't stay at a B&B if you're going to be there. No. Would you rent a little cottage or something?
I would use my family home as my base.
But
if people were going, you'd probably be able to rent a nice little cottage or something. Very reasonable if you.
Oh, is it reasonable?
Yeah, reasonable if you book it for enough time. You know.
So how about how much when you say it's reasonable? Because I mean, what's reasonable anymore?
Yeah,
I can't
it depends
tell.
on the part of the country. I mean, you can't get accommodation in Dublin, but you can't get accommodation in Kihei either. Right. So it's.
But
like,
if it was on the West Coast,
it's on the West Coast. I mean, you know, for I'd say 1,600, 1,500 euro a month. Is that reasonable?
Fair. That's very reasonable.
Fair.
Yeah.
And, you know, you get a little 2-bedroom, and what more would you want, you know?
Because you literally could spend that on a week and a half at some of the hotels.
For sure. The beauty of that is you use it as your base.
I think I did spend that, actually.
Yeah, use it as your base and leave, like I said, leave your big suitcase there. And then you want to go see the Cliffs of Moher or go explore somewhere, take off and do that, you know.
And you can rent a cottage.
Oh, yeah, a friend of mine does that. He rents for 2 months down in Kerry, and he's invited us. He's got a 3-bedroom house, very reasonable, in a remote part of Kerry.
You'll have to give me his contact.
Yeah, and it's in Kilgarvan, and it's got a population maybe of 300 people.
How wonderful.
They know him in the local pub, and there's music every night.
Yeah.
And they're retired. They live in San Francisco. And he's Irish originally, and that's what he does. Yeah. He goes August and September. And he said, hey, I've got 2 spare rooms. People come and go. He's friends.
Wow.
And we're going to go, myself and my dad in September, we're going to go spend a week with him for free.
This September?
Yeah, we're going in September.
Are you going back?
Yeah, of course. Well, my dad's getting on, so I want to spend time with him and so forth. Yeah.
Well, isn't that wonderful?
It is, and I don't drink anymore, so
Good on you.
driving around is easier.
So that I guess that leads us into this package you brought in, which we're going to be giving away. You have to be over 21, of course, but this, I have to warn people, this is 46% volume. One's triple distilled Irish whiskey. This one is single pot still Irish whiskey Powers from John Lane's. I don't know these. This green spot is 40% volume, and this one's turned, so I can't tell how, but I'm sure it's a lot.
Redbreast?
Yes, Redbreast.
It's right there, yeah.
Yeah, but it's there on the corner, so I can't tell.
40%. And then you got
40%.
Middleton, which would probably be the granddaddy of... It's a little 4-pack of miniature...
Well, not super miniature.
Well,
This isn't like
not
what
super
you,
miniature.
this is
No,
not what
I
you
know.
see in a bar.
Even in my heyday, I probably would have...
bar.
I find it hard to drink them all in one sitting.
It's 50 milligrams.
Yeah. What's 50 milligrams?
And it's about the size of more than a finger.
Yeah, there's a couple of...
No, it's just half a hand of alcohol.
I'd say there's 3 drinks in each at least.
Yeah,
for sure. No, it's a nice little package.
Stuff.
Yeah.
This is really...
It's real whiskey.
It says the essence of traditional Irish whiskey.
Right.
Now, I asked you where you got this, and I was thinking you actually went to the places.
Well, you don't have to tell people.
I know. I don't.
Why let the truth get in the way of a good story, Cindy?
And so this is a wonderful gift. This is like if someone gave me this when they came back from Ireland, I would be blown away. This is a super nice gift, nicer than the gifts I bring back from my friends. So I have to say I'm very impressed, Mike. Yeah. But then again, at Mulligans you can get some lovely.
Yeah, we have most of these whiskeys in the bar. I didn't come here to push Mulligans or what have you.
No, but you do. You have lovely whiskey.
I mean, if anybody does want to pick my little brain about going to Ireland or what we should do, but I mean, I'll stop by next week if you want to meet with Kathy and see.
Oh yeah, we
should. Can you imagine doing a tour?
I would love it.
Yeah.
I would.
And
love
like I said. Through Kathy, we would organize it, but pick up the package in San Francisco or LA or San Diego.
Yeah,
and it's a 14-day trip. You get on these really cool buses. You have a driver and a tour guide. Stop in hotels for 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody wants to go golf, that would be extra. You want to go sightseeing or you want to go to Blarney Wood, that's fine. And then you go see music, and it's a great package.
I agree.
And I'm sure there would be people who would be into it. So
I totally
I'm kind of
agree.
excited for that too.
I am too. So what should we do to give away this beautiful gift? Now, besides being over 21, we're going to have to clear the line first, I guess. That would be number 1. And what would we do to give this away? I don't know if it's just a regular call. This is a super gift.
We got to ask a question.
I think we have to ask a question, but they don't know out there the answer. You have to be aware that they're going to answer out there.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, so they wouldn't know the answer. So we're going to have to just let someone call.
You think they wouldn't know the answer?
I don't think so. Oh.
Can we go tell them?
Okay, come here, John. Whisper in his ear.
Okay, I'm going to whisper in John's ear.
Okay, we're going to give the answer first to John. Okay, so what's the question?
The question is, can we have a drum roll? We have another hour, right?
No,
I'm joking. What nationality was St. Patrick? You're laughing.
Okay, it's
not a trick question.
It's not a trick question.
But it's not the obvious. That's all I will say. It's not the obvious.
I read the history of
pretty amazing story. So
he was a slave.
Yes, he
for
was.
A while.
Yeah,
and he did the
slave
across the thing, and he was
he was captured, and
he was captured.
He came back to bring Christianity to Ireland.
Yes.
So I've given a little bit away already. He wasn't Irish, okay? So what nationality was St. Patrick?
Okay, call 244-9533, 244-9533 if you can figure out that answer. Oh, the phone is ringing, 244-9533. Now, don't give up, because the first person calling may not have the answer. And then you can call again, but the line is busy with someone calling in right now, and that's really neat. So I am really jazzed on Ireland. I don't know if they got it right. The phone's ringing again. I'm really jazzed on Ireland, and I happen to say that I really am so in love with the country. I'd be really willing to move there. See, I like cold weather, Mike.
Good for you.
I like cold weather.
I'm not leaving Maui, just so you know, wife or no wife. Sorry.
I like horses, and they've got beautiful horses.
They do.
I love music, and I love the people, and I like that spirit that they have. They have good
health care. I will give them that.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, well, it's important as we move on in life.
Yes,
you
it's
know,
true. It's very important.
Healthcare is,
and it's less expensive than Maui to live there.
It is. It's all relative. You know,
well,
as I tell my friends,
it's all down the bottom.
Well, I have friends who are moving to Maui, and I said the biggest expense will be your accommodation.
Yeah.
But when you get that sorted, if you want to go spearfishing, you can do that. If you want to grow vegetables, I mean, you can stick a papaya in the ground, and you'll have papayas in 9 months. I mean, it's everything's relative, and if you don't have any money, just go hiking, go to Poli Poli or go to La Perouse and take the day out. It doesn't get any better, and I'm not. It really doesn't. So
I love it.
It's when people come to visit that we realize what we've got going on.
That's true.
You know, and we need to protect it.
And it's always nice to come home, even from Ireland, right?
For sure. Yeah.
By the way, I do want to give a shout out. We're going to be doing the Rolling Stones tribute at Mulligans August 25th on Niels Rosenblatt. Amazing guy. What a great guy. He's putting together the band, and it's going to be a full-on thing, and we're going to be doing that as a tribute at Mulligan, so I'm excited about that. And tickets are on sale at Eventbrite if you do tribute to the Stones, and we're going to have 2 locations that have tickets here, too. Are you going to be able to have tickets there at Mulligan's
We'll have tickets
as
Mulligans
at
as
Mulligan's
well.
as well.
People are having a little bit of trouble finding it on Eventbrite.
Are they?
I think it's under Exiles.
Exiles.
The Exiles,
Yeah,
which
Exiles,
I think is...
A hard name.
Is the name of the
It's
album?
Exile on Main Street.
Exile on Main Street, yeah.
But
Excuse my...
Exile on Maui, it's being called, but no one's remembering it. So I think you
Right.
can also go tribute to the Rolling Stones.
Okay, good. Because people
Yeah.
were calling the bar yesterday.
Were they?
Yeah. But
well, I'm glad
we're
they're
excited.
calling.
Niels is excited. They're getting on board,
Yeah.
putting a real crew of musicians
Real
together.
crew with full on and horns and everything.
Yeah, fantastic.
So we're excited about that, and I thank everyone for listening. It's really it's a total treat to be able to talk to you, and I loved all the information you have, and I'm really looking forward to putting together something where we can do a group tour of Ireland together. It'll
And
be a
I'd
lot
love
of
to
fun.
go, but I know if you do 30 or 40 people...
Oh, well, we want to keep it to 30 and under.
Okay, there you go.
Small.
Not age-wise.
No. Well, that's all the time we have, and listen next week for more information here on the Travel Angel Radio Show.